One of you got a hold of one of our executive producers, or the executive producer, Greg Todoroff, and said, you ought to be talking to these guys called Artelo Biosciences. And look what happens. Just like that, Todoroff pulls a rabbit out of his hat, and the CEO of the company is in studio with us. How do you like that? Greg Gorgas is his name, and he's the president and CEO. Good to see you, man.
Great to be here.
Welcome to San Diego, but it seems like you're already in San Diego, so which took you so long?
Not too far down the road in Solana Beach.
There you go. Hey, first of all, you guys are in the biopharma space, okay? My first question to you is, are we post-COVID right now? In your world, I'm not talking about the disease, but in your world, seeing how your life works with the FDA, your life works with capital formation and everything else, you think we're...
we're still monitoring it, and I think there's an aftermath of that. We have an ongoing clinical study right now, and some patients are still reticent to come into the hospital, and so there may be some lingering aftermath from COVID.
Did having the FDA put what seemed like all hands on to get a vaccine done, did that affect your type of approval status for any clinical trials for your therapies?
It didn't affect our approval status, but we wanted to start our study at the beginning of COVID.
Perfect.
And they said, time out.
Yeah.
If it's not related to COVID, push a pause button. And so we did get a material delay to the company, but I'm happy to report since April of last year, we're up and running. So.
And things are on. By the way, the name of the company, once again, Artelo Biosciences, stock symbol ARTL. They are publicly traded under NASDAQ, and you can go to artelobio.com. So give us a top down. What space are you in, and what are you guys doing?
So, we started the company about 5 years ago, and some investors came to me and said, Greg, we're really enamored with, CBD. CBD is, on the cover of New York Magazine, and
this is cannabinoids, correct?
We're interested in the endocannabinoid system, and would you like to come on and invest your money alongside of us and start a company in this space?
And endocannabinoid, there's a receptor and there's a male-female plug-in here, right? Isn't that how the layman should think about this?
One of the largest communication systems in the body is the endocannabinoid system.
No kidding.
And your body makes its self-made cannabinoids. It just happens that the plant also makes cannabinoids, and that's how this system was discovered, because a researcher out of Israel, Dr. Raphael Mechoulam, about 30 years ago said, where is cannabis targeting? And he identified the targets in the body, these receptors. And then later on, it was discovered that your body makes its own self-made cannabinoids, and that's why it's called the endocannabinoid.
So what are the outcomes? Are we curing male pattern baldness? Are we curing cancer? Are we curing? What are we shooting for here?
The NIH says this endocannabinoid system is potentially applicable in a wide array of diseases, metabolic diseases, sleep disorders, anxiety, pain, inflammation. And when I saw that, I said there's a treasure trove of opportunity.
Sure.
So our lead asset is to restore hunger. That's not a surprise to people who have been around cannabinoids.
Okay.
Cannabis users have taught us there's an attraction to hunger.
So tell me what malady that would cover in the human body on the regular spectrum.
A lot of people don't know about 4 out of every 10 patients that die of a cancer diagnosis. Think of Steve Jobs.
Okay.
That malnutrition, that loss of weight, that loss of life eventually, the loss of quality of life is what really affects them. And so we're aiming to restore that appetite, restore weight back into cancer patients that are suffering from that weight loss.
And for you, you have a lead asset, and I think it's called ART-2713.
Correct.
Talk to us about what it focuses on.
Well, it's not a drug that comes out of the cannabis plant. It doesn't come from the sky, the soil, or a plant. It came out of the labs of AstraZeneca, a global pharmaceutical company.
Sure.
We licensed in full global rights in all fields to this asset.
Okay.
And when we became very impressed with the data of appetite restoration and weight gain, we said cancer patients deserve a treatment like this. To date, there is no drug approved by the FDA or in Europe that treats cancer anorexia.
Now, cancer anorexia, is that caused from things like radiation and chemotherapy, or is it caused by the cancer, or is it all the above?
All of the above. There's probably 10 different reasons why. It could be anticipatory nausea and vomiting. It can be the cancer itself, the location of the cancer. It can be the depression that's associated with cancer, the cancer process. So there's a lot of reasons why people suffer. But let me tell you, Sully, something really quick. Ambien doesn't care the reason why you have sleep deprivation.
Right, sure.
It just addresses sleep.
Right.
We don't care the reason why you have cancer anorexia. We just try and fix that by restoring appetite.
His name is Greg Gorgas. He is the president and CEO of Artelo Biosciences. They are publicly traded under the stock symbol ARTL, and you can go to artelobio.com. Talk about some of the other therapies you guys are working on, because as I drill down on your website and such, you have a number of things going right now.
Well, we do. We have a number of assets. Our second program, which is not in the clinic yet, in fact, we hope to have that into the clinic next year, is a inhibitor to a protein that's in your body and mind called a fatty acid binding protein.
Okay.
Your body actually has 9 of them, and many of these different isoforms or numbers have different roles in the body. And when we saw the impact of inhibiting this protein and retarding or slowing down the growth and migration of cancer, we became very impressed.
Okay.
We licensed this in from Stony Brook University, and it's a very, very exciting program within our portfolio.
So you guys have, if I'm not mistaken, you guys have 6 patents and another 16 patent pendings? Is
That's
that about
correct.
right?
Pharmaceutical companies only do 2 things. They make data, or they invest in data, and they protect it.
Okay.
And our portfolio is heavily investing in data. In fact, over 50% of our expenses are in the research area, and then also in the protection of that.
But your pipeline seems enormous. Is your pipeline any larger? I mean, it seems like I've interviewed a number of biopharma companies over the years. I don't know that I've ever heard of them. You got 6 patents and 16 patent pendings. Seems like you're going to be busy for a while, because each one of these potentially could go to the next level of FDA approvals. Correct?
Well, in that second program that I mentioned, we have over 30 chemistries, and many of them might have different applications in the body.
Right.
So you're right, there is a large family there. And then our third program is we have the first and only patent issued by the U.S. Patent Office on a co-crystal of cannabidiol, or otherwise known as CBD.
Right.
And so that puts us on the patent map just in and of itself.
I have to ask you, so the kind of the risk aversion model for biopharma for the last 20 years has been, you guys bring it to the five-yard line, and then a bigger company comes out and does the marketing, and you know, the handsome people with the suitcases that go into doctors' offices. Are you guys, is there any upside in not taking that model, and you guys taking this thing straight all the way in once you get FDA approval completely?
Well, 35 years ago, I was maybe, my wife and others could judge whether I was one of those handsome gentlemen that was carrying the bag at that time. So I'm a credible threat. In fact, most of my career has been in the commercial side of things.
So you could take this from inception to fruition potentially.
My experience, I mean, I was one of the ones on the team that launched rituximab, which does $9 billion globally. And I had staff in Europe and in Asia and as well as the U.S. So we'll make that threat, and we'll live by that threat, and we may progress on that line if a global pharma can't say this is really worth what it is.
And the reason that's important is that suddenly you're bringing more to the bottom line than the average biopharma, because you're taking it from inception to fruition. What does it look like for you over the next 18 months? So we don't talk about share price on this show, or we talk about numbers.
I appreciate you saying that.
In your opinion, what's
we have multiple milestones ahead of us. You know, our first data readout of a company is expected within the next 3 months. A later data readout towards the third to fourth quarter, around October-ish, and then also towards the end of the year. That's on the lead clinical asset. And then as we go in and near towards the clinic for our 2 other preclinical assets, as data that's differentiated comes available, we're going to make that available to people as well.
You know, it seems like, to me, I remember when cannabis, I mean, we saw the medicinal side of cannabis, and we saw the recreational side of marijuana over the last 7 years, let's call it, since maybe 8 years, since 2013. And there's been sort of this popularity and non-popularity. And I remember when Canada made legal federally cannabis and recreational marijuana, then suddenly, and keep in mind, Canada's population the size of California. Do you think we're on an uptick again? Because this is almost like when they first invented aspirin. This seems like a catch-all to me, which is a positive thing. You think we're back on track?
I don't know. What I can say is we're different from the cannabis companies, and I'll tell you why. A fundamental difference. They're more like a consumer product. They think about cannabis or the same as beer or wine or anything else that you might have here. They think about, here's my product, where can I apply it?
Right.
Drug companies think differently. Drug companies say, what's the target in the body, and how do I build the best drug for that target to elicit that response?
Well, it seems like in the net your casting is much larger. I hope you'll come back with us. I think that was the most interesting analysis of the CBD world that is consumer based on there for you. We'd love to have you come back. His name is Greg Gorgas, President and CEO of Artelo Biosciences. By the way, they're publicly traded. ARTL is the stock symbol, ARTL. You go to artelobio.com.